Hello. Um, this is going to be the video I have been talking about for a while, and I'm recording it rather than doing live because I have to refer to notes because it's something that I have been doing for many years and it's pretty automatic now. Um, I don't have to think about it step by step. I just do it automatically in my head. My hair's frizzy. Um, and that was building a relationship with yourself. Um, and it's gonna sound probably kind of um, self-help, new agey kind of thing, but I find it to be extremely helpful. It's helped me quite a bit. I have what a lot of the practitioners I've seen say. Um, I have good insight. And basically, for someone with a psychiatric condition, that means that when your symptoms are present or when you are have come out of symptoms, you are able to tell that they were associated with the disorder and not real life issues, and address them accordingly through your therapist, your doctor, your medication, whatnot. Because a lot of people struggle with drawing a line between what the disorder is controlling and what is happening out of real life issues and relationships. And they say that people just have it and some don't, but I believe that a certain good degree of insight can be developed if you put in the effort. And I know that when I was in the hospital, they would give you pages to fill out or notebooks to fill out. And it was like, at the time, it seemed like, this is just stupid. This is just stupid. Why are we doing this? Answer these questions. What do I like about myself? I mean, it sounds silly. But it is true that when you are experiencing an event, a psychiatric event, you're more likely to have trouble answering those simple questions realistically. For example, this would be me. You get a little piece of paper and it says, what do you like about yourself? What would you like to change about yourself? Questions like that. And I always thought it was busy work and it was stupid, but then that's because I was there probably for depression. And my answers would be like, I don't like anything about myself. Everything I do turns to shit. Just everything was negative. And that was because I was in a psychiatric event and I was unable to see that this was early on, that I was feeling the way I was feeling because of a disorder, and events that grew from the disorder rather than what was real. And then as you start to get better, you're more able to say or believe when people say, well, what kinds of things do people say to you that they like about you? And so you're like, well, people say I'm compassionate. Well, see, there you go, there's one. And it kind of starts to seep back into your brain that maybe I'm not all that bad. But it takes time for medication and just your brain to realign itself. It's like getting your tires realigned. And if you're on the other end, like mania, I would think that all that busy work was a waste of time. I had better things to do, or I'd interrupt, or I'd try to be funny. And so either way, if you're in an event, it is going to be a struggle to do these types of questions seriously or effectively, but nonetheless, you should, because if you do it long enough, you will be able to see that, hey, sometimes all I say is negative stuff, and sometimes I say some positive stuff, and it kind of cycles. Maybe there are times in my life I only feel like it's the end of the world, and it really isn't, because according to this, I changed. So, and this is where I emphasize journaling, and I don't really mean it in the what a lot of people view as journaling, like it has to be some life-changing activity that other people can read and gain insight into their own lives. No. What I'm talking about is just taking a pencil, taking a piece of paper. You don't have to keep it. You can throw it away. You can burn it right after you write on it. I have shelves full of journals, and I don't look at them. I don't read them, but I see them, and I know that I have written in them since the 90s. So I know that my whole journey with bipolar disorder is right there. And journaling can be, sometimes it is very, very good for venting. I recommend venting. I think it's healthy. I think it feels good. I think it's better to vent on paper than to another person, because people are people and they have their own thoughts and opinions, and you could say something to turn them off. So just pour it out on a paper. You don't have to worry about your spelling. You don't have to worry about your grammar. Nobody has to see it. But I'm going to tell you why it's important to then just think as opposed to just thinking. these things, and that is because there was a study done, and it was a long time ago, back when I was in nursing school, I think. There was a study done that people who took notes in class did better on tests. They didn't necessarily review their notes. What was happening was they were taking in the information both auditorially through their ears and by processing it through to their hand on the paper, using two different parts of the brain. I hope you can't hear my dogs barking. I think it's mailman time. So they're getting more information. They're getting more, it's staying more. And like they have it in two different places. It's to retrieve it for later for a test. And I did that. I took notes, but I didn't review my notes. And I was a pretty good student. Now, there is now and again that crazy person that can not take notes, I don't know, not do any of the work and still pass tests. We're not going to talk about them because they're not very common. But for the rest of us, it's that if you're just thinking, say somebody has done something to hurt you, it hurt you very badly, or very badly. I'm getting stuck on my own grammar. And it's really eating you up. You could just walk around all day with it churning in your head. Well, you're not going to be very productive because you're going to be completely blocked into getting any other thoughts, ideas, inspirations because of that, taking up the space and the business of your brain. So if you sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen and just like rip somebody a new one and get up, and you will feel better. You may have to do it more than once depending on how bad the hurt was, but you can at least take a breath and move on to other stuff. Now, if you're going to be completely and absolutely and utterly in writing, do not use your laptop, your computer, do not use that for journaling. It's a different part of your brain. You get more stimulated. It doesn't work. You have to get a quiet room, pencil and paper, and you can do venting. You can do just stream of thought. You can just expound on an idea you had that day. You can ask yourself things to help to get to know yourself better and build a relationship. Now, if you're absolutely opposed to writing, the second option is to think things through while you are doing a physical, repetitive type action. That is walking, biking, swimming, jogging, hiking, and house cleaning seems to work as well. and just let the nastiness take over while you, I don't know, scrub a shelf clean. Um, and just let it happen. And just let it happen in your head. And wait till it slows down, calms down, you're relaxed, and then you can go home and maybe get something productive done, like a load of laundry or something like that. I guarantee you doing either, but it depends on, if you're more agitated, if you're a person that is getting agitated, I mean, I have both, so I can say a person. If you are in a agitated type, like physically agitated, the walk is probably the best way to go. Walking and venting in your head. But if it's something that maybe you're trying to figure out about yourself, like you're worried, not agitated, but worried or concerned or confused, then I think the journaling is more appropriate. You may have friends you can vent to, but I'm just very careful because I have had people who have said it was okay that I vent to them, and they use that information against me. And I mean we're talking some grade A traitor bitches. Oh my goodness. And so it may be okay in the beginning, but if for some reason someone gets a hold of their other ear and starts talking nasty about you, they may go more to that side. You know, like the friend you talk to is the enemy that talks about you. So that's just, I mean, you can talk about your feelings, and if you can just have like a calmer kind of, I recommend even going to the source and skipping the person you're venting. And that's what I eventually started doing at my job, because I didn't need this in between. If I'm going to resolve something with somebody, I used to just vent, but then I was like, I got to a point where this shit needs to be resolved, and it's between me and this other person, so I'm going straight to the other person. Sometimes that's not the safe option. I mean, you could talk about what's going on without venting. When I'm talking about venting is, you know, I think you know what I mean. You want to call someone awful names and what they do and what you would like to see happen to them, and not necessarily be an awful person. We all go through that. Nobody is without prejudice to some person. So, and things are going to bother you. We're all so different. You know, so if anyway, let me move on. When you ask yourself questions to get to know yourself, you can't just ask a question. Like, I know, like, out of fun and stuff, people will say, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite movie? You can. You start with those simple questions, but what is that saying? The something in the pudding. Anyway, what you want to get to is not necessarily what your favorite movie is. the important part is to ask yourself, why? Why is this movie my favorite movie right now? Because mine changes all the time. Always ask, always follow up with a why, or how. So, things like, what do I like? What do I not like? Why? What do I value in others? Why? What turns me off about other people, traits other people have? Why? So, then you can, after you experiment with simple questions like that, you can move on to stuff that's a little more existential, a little more philosophical. Like, I play with myself. I play with my own brain by just the other day. See, I watch, yes, I know it's full of gore and ghastly things, but I watch The Walking Dead. And I watch it for the relationship of the people. And there's so many people and there's so many relationships. And all these different things are happening. And so that's why I enjoy that show. And so it came to me, and I thought, if this were happening right here in my town, this town, and I was going to leave my house, what would I take? What would I need? And I explored, I'd take a backpack to put some stuff in, and probably a bag I could carry, but then would I want a weapon in both hands? Then I wouldn't be able to take the bag. Which backpack would I take? Which would be best? I have a few. What would I do with my dogs? Where would I go? Would my mom go? If we had to run from something, I might be able to run, but my mom wouldn't. Would we take the car? We don't have a gun. Would I be so driven by survival instincts that I would go next door and knock the old man over and steal his gun? And it's fun. I mean, to explore things. To think, in a way, you could think of events in your life that are still affecting you and ask yourself not just why, but how. For example, which I have spoken of already in videos about my body image issues. I was aware that this was a long time ago, the first time I gained weight. I was aware that I was extremely overweight. I didn't need anybody to tell me that. I knew it. I was self-conscious of it. My brother got married and I had to go and be in the pictures, and I'm just dreading, just the pictures were just very bad. And so I hadn't seen my dad. See, I have my dad that raised me, and my biological dad. I just met my biological father 4-ish years ago. And my dad, who raised me since I was 2, is my dad. And I love him. But he did something very hurtful, and I don't even know that if he knew it was hurtful, but his opinion on young ladies was that they should be pretty and they should be thin and feminine and ladylike. That's just where he came from, and I wasn't necessarily all of those, and especially then. And I hadn't seen him in a really long time, and because of the fact that I had gained weight and I didn't want to see or I didn't know I would hear anything, but I didn't want to see the disapproval. And but I went out to see my brother, and who lived out the same way across the state, and it would have been rude of me, because they live in the same town almost, so it would have been rude of me to not stop and visit my dad. It would have been rude for me to just go home and they find out I was there and didn't stop by. And they had been saying, you need to stop by, you need to stop by, you need to stop by. So I finally do this, and I'm sitting with my stepmom on the porch waiting for my dad to come home. And we're drinking, I don't know, lemonade or something, or tea, and out on the front porch. And my dad gets out of his car, he's walking towards me, and instead of saying, oh, wow, I haven't seen you in so long, oh, it's been a long time, oh, it's so nice to see you, glad you stopped by. No. The first thing he said was, wow, you've put on some pounds. And my eyes immediately welled up, and I was gonna start sobbing, and I just was like, I have a really bad headache, I gotta leave. And I left, and I didn't talk to him for like 2 years because it hurt bad that he did not say nice to see you. That was not the first thing he said. That he pointed out my weight. So that's the event. For me to explore that event, why does it bother me? It bothers me because I grew up, I'm only 5 feet tall, and I was always small. And I've heard since I was a baby that I was tiny. I was a tiny baby, tiny kid, tiny adult. I mean, it was like a joke that one time we were locked out and I crawled through the doggy door, and I'm talking small dog, through the doggy door to open the door, and I also know that when I started gaining the weight, my fiance pulled away. So that means weight gain equals loss of loved ones. The why it bothers me, it means in their eyes, and therefore in my eyes, I am not successful, I am ugly, I am lazy, undisciplined, just all of that. That's the why that event bothered me, because not I define success on how certain family members define my success. So if they did not see me as being successful, I did not feel successful. I was not me at that time in my life. I was living for other people. I'm not like that anymore. But the how does it affect me? Well, I have a problem now, and always have since that time, of that one comment that when I walk into a store and you can see your reflection, I don't look at the door or the windows in stores I avoid my reflection from like here down. I avoid my reflection because when I see it, I feel nauseous and depressed and barfy, and it affects how I eat. It affects like actions, the how. My clothing, what I wear. I wear a lot of clothing that's like, I love hoodies and stuff because it sort of camouflages a fat stomach. And there are things that I own that I would like to wear and I don't, because I can see my fat stomach. So that's just an example of exploring something about yourself to gain insight. So I may not ever get over the body issue thing, but I understand where it came from, and I know that I can work on it. It's something I have to say every day, that one is not measured by their appearance. In many ways, I am successful and disciplined and hardworking. These brooms don't make themselves. They are hours and hours of work. It's like sometimes it feels like a full-time job. And I stopped doing TikToks. They were too stressful. I had a hard time. They give you 60 seconds and the pressure was too much. And I just I don't know, I'm just used to YouTube. And I help people on YouTube, and I help anybody that I see that needs help. And my career at the animal shelter did not end because of anything I did. It ended because there was a harassing bully on the board who didn't like me because I interrupted him, because I used to be a person that would let people yell at me or point their finger at me, but I'm not anymore, and he didn't like that. So I was on his hit list, and one day he got me alone and cornered me, sticking his fingers at me and threatening me with my job, and so And I already had been complaining that the board would decide one thing and he'd have this other crazy, cheaper alternative. And they had already decided to do it the right way. And he would get them by manipulating the meeting until next thing you know, we're doing it his way. And so I knew that after I reported the harassment event, that they were going to talk to him and he would get them on his side. I knew that was going to happen. So that's why I started writing my resignation letter early and started packing. So I was successful at that. It's very easy for us to lose the things that we do well in our messy brains full of negativity. And so to get to know yourself and develop a relationship with yourself, you have to look at both sides. Is there something I could have done differently that wouldn't have compromised my me? And I would say no, there wasn't. And I've explored that thoroughly. I made mistakes in other parts, but I always found the right person and said, that didn't work, or I didn't do it right, or something, I forgot this. How do I fix it? What do you want me to do? Just stuff, some people hide their mistakes. That's the wrong thing to do. It's very honest. There's a list of words that we use to describe other people. You have to learn to describe yourself. Listen to what people are saying. Like, for example, just people may not say you're an honest person. They might say other things like, well, I've always known you to do the right thing. That means a lot of stuff. That means that means a bunch of good words. Integrity, honesty, maturity, growing. You have to listen to what people are saying. And don't miss out on those positives. Now, there's always places for the negatives. Nobody is perfect. And you have to be honest with those things for yourself. And you have to, write it down. Things I don't like about myself, or things I need to work on. Let's see, let me think of one. One for me. Okay, here's one for me that I fixed. Not too long ago, would purposefully be busy doing something when it was time to do something I didn't want to do. Like take out the trash, um, or feed the dogs, things like that. Not lazy. I'd just rather be doing what I'm doing. And I started to feel a feeling in there because, you know, if I don't do it, my mom has to do it. And if I spend all my time upstairs and never come down, she basically is living alone with 3 dogs downstairs. And it wasn't until I put it that way that I was upstairs doing the things I wanted to do, um, while she was downstairs taking out the trash, feeding the dogs. And and then I realized, you know, she's almost 70 and I'm 50. That's pretty shitty. That's really shitty. So that's, and I was like, for me to be a decent person, I need to step up and do more, do equal, you know, like do my part. Um, and then I realized, you know, feeding the cats and the dogs. The cats are outside. Feeding the cats. They're, by the way, they're not like, they're not, they're stray cat. They're I call them street cats that decided our house was theirs, their home, so we feed them and make sure if they need medical care, you know, we make sure they don't get fleas in the summer. But they're not pets. They're not like pets we keep outside. They've been outside all their lives. We just make life a little more easy for them. The dogs are our pets in the house. And I realized it takes like 15 minutes at the most, or like 10 minutes to feed them. So it's like stupid. So now I help take out the garbage. Sometimes I do it myself. Part of the problem is it seems like I can only be occupied by one thing at a time. And if it's a Wednesday, I know that Wednesday is the day to put the trash out, but it doesn't, on that day, unless I have something saying put the trash out in front of me all day, I don't know. And I have asked her, if you need me to do something, you have to ask me. You might have to remind me because it gets lost in there. So a lot of times I'm triggered by, like, she'll start putting on her coat or something. And I'll be like, where's she going? It's like nighttime. Oh, it's Wednesday night. It's trash. So I'll put on my coat and go out and we'll put the trash out. I go to the store all the time now because she doesn't want to go inside because nobody wears a mask here and she has asthma. And I mean, there are other things, but I did change that behavior and no longer have to feel that guilt that I was feeling, that I should have been feeling, which means I've grown as a person. You know, like when we're taking things from, like unloading the car, I get the heavier stuff, and it just didn't, some of it didn't even register in my head. But, so you have to be honest with yourself completely. I mean, really look at situations. Look at it. If you have a situation, which always means something negative is going on, what is its origin? You may think it's from someone else or something else, and if you ask enough questions of yourself, you may discover that you had a part in it. And if you do your part, you at least don't have to feel bad. And like other questions you can ask yourself when are like, when I'm no longer on this earth, what would I like people to remind me? Think of me. Think of when they think of me, or remember me by what kind of person I was. Let me see. And you can ask yourself, what do you want in life? And keep asking the hows and whys until you get to the nitty gritty. Right? Because you can say, I want a lot of money. Well, yeah, that's great. What are you going to do with the money? What do you want to do with the money? And, well, I'm going to lay on the beach and never have to work again. Well, what does that accomplish? I mean, you just have to explore yourself. How am I different from other people? Does it bother me? If so, why? How does it affect my behavior? What things do I want in life? What is important in life? What things do I like about my life? There's usually balance in the world. I may say that because I'm a Libra, but that's the scales. And no, I don't believe in astronomy, but astrology. 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 I had to look it up. I think I'm getting senile. Yeah, the balance, yin and yang kind of thing, I do believe in. I also, well, let me finish the balance, yin and yang. What shit thing did somebody do to me? And think about that for a while, write about that for a while, and then come around and say, what shit thing did I do to somebody else? Because you have. Okay? Nobody has not. So, there's always a balance. And a go around. You may not even be aware of some of the things that you may have said that, like I said, what my dad said, how it affected me. I don't think that he went out to hurt me purposely, but it did. So it's not necessarily that he did a shit thing. Now, my fiance leaving me in my greatest time of need, even though it was supposed to happen, that was a shitty thing to do. The way he did it and when he did it was very shitty. What shitty thing that I have done? I disclosed a secret a best friend told me, but I thought it was in her best interest. That's me making excuses. Still. So you get to feeling like this exercise, the going around balance thing, it kind of puts the fact that other people and you are not all that different. I mean, we may be different in the in the small, in the little, the hows. I can't think of what I'm trying to say. We all do shitty things. I guess I could say that. And so we're all kind of in the same boat. The point is that, are you working on it? That's the point. If you're doing shitty things, you could be doing shitty things to yourself, even, which we do a lot of. People with psychiatric disorders, either out of the disorder itself or as a result of how we feel about having the disorder. We do shitty things to ourselves, and that's just as bad, if not worse, than doing shitty things to other people. So, you need to just stop doing shitty things. No, what I'm saying is everybody you meet has done something shitty. So, we're all just trying to desperately make sense of our world, and as time goes by, so does the journey. They're intertwined, and so if you can take this moment now to think or write about things you can do to make your life better, more livable, less shitty, therefore making the world one little person better, you know? You're working on it. The giving up. I don't believe in giving up. Giving up is not in the sense of, like, I might change what I'm doing, but the passion is always there. I'm always trying to be a productive person, someone who is doing something. I completely lost what I was gonna say, what I was trying to get at. Oh, and by doing that, I'm one person making the universe one person better. If I give up and do nothing all day except watch TV, watch videos on YouTube, play games, listen to music, and I'm not benefiting anybody. Okay, so anyway, everybody has done something shitty. You have done something shitty, so you're not any better or any worse than this other shitty person, with the exception for evil people that do need to die or have already died. Like John Wayne Gacy, Hitler. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Joe Blow walking down the street right now. You don't know. He, like the poor guy who got shot because, he came home from the dentist and had sandwiches in his hands. Him. A really good way to get to know yourself better is by watching other people. I am a big time people watcher. The best places to watch people, well, one used to be the airport, when you could see people get off the flight and that first reaction of setting eyes. Do they want that person to be there? Are they happy they're back? How do the kids feel? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are they depressed? Are they coming? And I would make up stories for people. Oh, they're coming here. They're very sad looking. Everybody looks very somber. Do you think maybe they're coming here? Somebody died? Somebody's sick? Me and my friends would just cruise the airport and hang around. You can't do that anymore. Another good people watching place is the laundromat. I just sit on a park bench and watch people. Malls are good, except you can be kind of creepy, especially if you're a guy. But watching other people, watch every movement while they're talking, while they're listening. What do they do with their bodies? Do they turn in, turn out, tilt their head, play with their hair, look somewhere else? Are they bored? Are they, So, and the reason I say that is because you'll become more aware of how you behave when you are having a conversation with other people. If you have ever seen two people talking and one of the people who is talking is like coming closer and closer and closer to the other person, and like that other person is like, dude, you're getting too close, man. You can learn that, do I do that? I hope I don't do that. Well, next time, oh my goodness, I'm doing that. I'm going to stop doing that. So you can start to recognize some behaviors and maybe even become a better liar. No, I'm just kidding. You can also be able to learn how to interpret what other people, what their body language means when they're listening, when you're talking to them. When people are talking or listening, but it's not the words, it's completely tone of voice and body language. That's one reason, the biggest reason I prefer to work with dogs alone, even though I don't. It's because it's important for the owner to have a relationship with their own dog. Is because people can say one thing and really mean another. They can be very deceptive for whatever reason they have. And I tell you what, some of the people at the shelter I worked at were the worst liars in the entire world. Oh, they were bad. They were really, really bad. And that's how I knew to start getting ready to resign. They gave themselves away. And they actually were surprised that I jumped before they were going to start acting on me. They were like, oh, then okay. They didn't know what to do because I was like, no, I'm resigning. I've been working on this for about a week and a half now. Here's my resignation letter. I've already packed. I just gotta put it in my car and go. So, because they wanted to catch me by surprise, and they couldn't because they were so bad at lying. People are not good liars. We do not lie well. If you lie well, you're a sociopath. I never listened to the words. Sometimes I would ask people questions knowing I knew they weren't going to tell me the answer, but I needed to hear their tone of voice and how it was expressed, the tone and the body language that went with it, and that's what I read. So watching other people's is very important. It can also help you develop some social skills that you didn't realize were off. I think I've mentioned before that I had a habit of just walking away from people. I would get the information I needed from them and say, okay, thanks, and turn and walk off. And I still don't think there's anything wrong with that. I got what I needed. I moved on with my task. But apparently a lot of people find that rude. I'm like, okay, what do I do then? So apparently I'm supposed to stay facing them and continue a little bit of conversation and then announce that I'm gonna go and finish. So, and I was alerted to this both in high school by a teacher and working at the shelter. And I'm like, but I don't understand. It seems kind of silly to me. It seems kind of stupid to me that you need me to. I mean, I got what I needed. No, I'm not putting you down or anything. You're still important to me. I consider you a work friend. I just don't need you anymore. I got my information. I gotta go do what I just talked to you about. So, pay attention, because you may find some things that you are doing or not doing that might make it easier for you with other people. Let's see. So that's people watching. Let's see. I'm just gonna make this a long one. Okay. So, some other questions. What ideals are important to me? And do I live by those ideals? Now you can answer those for yourself. If you don't, then that's a cue for you to change your behavior. So I find these ideals important. I find honesty to be important. Am I always honest? I'm pretty honest. So, um, an ideal that's important to me is driven. Someone that has a driven personality. Do I live by that? No. um, but I am satisfied that I have passion and creativity, so it's okay with me not to be driven. Driven can be annoying. I would like to be that kind of power person, but I'm not. So these are things just to explore. The more you explore, the more you'll learn about yourself, and the more you learn about yourself, the more you'll understand how and why you do things, and if they are helping or hurting you. Should you change them, endeavor to change them? Are you satisfied with them? Sort of develop a code, a personal code to live by. And I know that honesty, and I'm like the typical, like the epitome of the Hufflepuff from Harry Potter. Hard work. My code is honesty, hard work, loyalty, all those things, all those boxes you check off of. That's my code. Do I know my weaknesses? I would say I know a lot of my weaknesses, but I probably don't know them all. That's something you can journal about. How you can work on those. What are your strengths? And how do you use those in life? Always, like I said, balance. Always balance. When we get depressed, we answer all questions negatively. And if someone gives us the freedom to just ask questions, we're only going to ask the negative. What are our weaknesses? You always have to think of what is the opposite of weakness? Strength. So you can never ask one question, it's got to be two. What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? How do you use them? How can you use them more in life? How can you use them to make life better for you and for the other people? In building character. That's the best thing in the world. I think that is what I like. A person that I like is a person that has character. That is someone that is an individual who is fairly aware of their weaknesses and their strengths, and they know which weaknesses they can work on and struggle with, and which weaknesses are just going to be there. And be honest about it. Someone who, if they see someone struggling, they will stop to ask if they need help, and give a little bit to the world. At the same time, don't forget to take a little bit of the world into you. And I think that someone that is constantly exploring themselves, because we change every day, is someone that has character. Yes, exploration is the big one here. So, that is all I can think of right now to try to describe on how to develop a relationship with yourself, and get to know yourself. because you can't do much of anything else, any other therapy. Not that this is any therapy that is, this is just me. Um, but until you have spent some time doing these things, you can't start doing things like meeting people for a relationship. Um, Friendships might be odd because you don't even know yourself. Um, Job, or what kind of job to get. How can you help people? You won't know any of that. You won't be able to do any of that until you get to know yourself a little better, and that is called insight. And I do think that a lot of people can gain some insight. I don't think it's something that you just have or you don't have and that's it. How much insight you have changes as your mood goes, but usually we'll come back to center. I hope this was helpful, and I'm hoping to do a live. I was gonna do a live last night. This probably won't load till like 3 days later. I was gonna do a live last night, but I have been feeling particularly sleepy and tired at the end of the day, and that's when I do them at 10:30 because it seems to suit the people that do watch. I'll try to do one tonight. I don't have a lot going on. We'll see how the internet is going. That's also how it's dependent. I can now tell that if we're having trouble with it on the TV downstairs, that I shouldn't do a live. Update. I can't. Anyway, I'm going to be starting on propranolol for my tremor next week and get a consult for neurologist. Hold on. Okay, so it's not there all the time. Mostly towards the end of the day. And my left hand is worse than the right. I'm going to show you video. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because it's on my phone. Because I caught it on video. I was trying to light a candle, and it looks like, it may look to you like it was my right hand. It flipped around, it's actually my left hand. It only happens when I go to do something. And sometimes it doesn't shake, but I feel it in my muscles. Like there's a quaking in my muscles. It's very strange. But the propranolol may help with anxiety as well. for example, when I go to train a dog, so the other option was a benzodiazepine drug, and so I talked to my psychiatrist, and they said try the propanolol first. Don't do the benzo. And yeah, so I'm gonna have a referral also to neurologist, and to determine, really mainly, I want to make sure is it meds, or is it really this essential tremor? Obviously, my biological father and his two sisters have it. Their heads tremor, their voice tremors, and it starts out with their hand tremor. And but I just like to make sure on things. So, but I heard you can gain weight on propanolol. Honestly, I'm losing a little weight. If I start gaining weight, I'll go with the shakes, because if you've watched this video, you know exactly why, because I am still dealing with that issue. Okay, so, hey, I did a video on my other channel, and about wand making, and, my microphone wasn't working for part of it, so I hope you guys can hear me. Okay, so maybe I will talk to you later.